rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This is a regular meeting of the Township of Township Board of Adjustment, and pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act, the public was hereby notified that adequate notice as defined by the Act was provided, and that notice of meeting schedule was published in the Asbury Park Press on December 6, 2024, and published in the Star Ledger on December 6, 2024, and that a copy of said notice was filed with the clerk of the Township of Township and posted by him. We will now have roll call of members.
Mr. Christopher?
Here.
Mr. Dinger?
Here.
Mr. Colucci?
Here.
Mr. Mullen?
Here.
Mr. Fontana?
Here.
Mr. Erb?
Here.
Mr. Liebman?
Here.
Mr. Liebman?
Here.
Mr. Catella?
Here.
And Mr. Licata?
Here. In addition, tonight we have present our board attorney, Christopher Dasty, Esquire, of the law firm of Dasty and Steiger, our board attorney, Pam Hill, of PE of Remington and Burdick Engineers, our board engineer, Stuart Weiser, of ARH Associates, our assistant secretary to the board is Melissa Benedetto, our court reporter is Denise L. Sweet of Denise L. Sweet and Associates. For those of you who are here for the first time, let me briefly outline the procedure which the Board of Adjustment has adopted. The applicant or his or her attorney may present their case. The applicant may call on witnesses on his or her behalf. There will be questions by board members and then questions to the witness by objectors relating only to the witness's testimony. This procedure will be repeated with each and every witness. When asking a question regarding a specific witness's testimony, the public may only ask questions about that expert's testimony. Upon completion of the presentation by the applicant or his or her attorney, all parties who are interested may present their views. The public may comment on any aspect of the application at the public comment period at the close of the application. When speaking, please give your name, address, and your interest in the application to the board secretary and court reporter, and speak into the microphone. To avoid delays, do not repeat what previous objectors have already objected to, other than to acknowledge agreement with that objector. All appeals shall be taken to the Superior Court within 45 days of the date of publication of the decision. It is therefore very important that all objectors present tonight be heard by the board. The board will complete all applications on the agenda, if at all possible, prior to 10 p.m. We will now proceed with the regularly scheduled meeting. Item 5 on our agenda tonight is approval of general vouchers for payment. There is one tonight, voucher number 2501696-01 for Dasty and Steiger for a total of $2,268. Offered.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Number 6 tonight is approval of escrow vouchers for payment. There are two. Voucher number 25-01809 for Remington and Burdick Engineers, and voucher number 25-01801 for AHR Associates for a total of $10,535.50.
Offered.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Escrow refund vouchers. Tonight there is one. A refund voucher for Edward Grabowski, lot 1098.34, lots 19 and 20. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
I did the motion and second.
I made a motion. So that's Mr. Ruthven and Ms. Cormolen. Minutes of the meeting, I'm sorry. Board of Adjustment minutes for the regular meeting of September 26, 2024 and October 10th, 2024. Offered. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? We have one resolution of approval tonight. It's for Brandon Fennell and C.D. Williams, 1146 Federal Way, Block 730, Lots 12, Appeal number 13931. Both variance approved.
Offered.
That's Mr. Ruthven on the motion, Ms. Tormolen on the second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Lutman?
Yes.
Mr. Mullen?
Yes.
Mr. Erb?
Yes.
Mr. Fontana?
Yes.
Mr. Colucci?
Yes.
Mr. Liebman?
Yes.
And Mr. Christopher?
Yes. Number 13893, it's a USD1 variance, bulk variance, and preliminary and final major site plan. Public hearing open, testimony heard. carried from November 18th, 2024, December 12th, 2024, January 23, 2025, March 10, 2025, for further testimony. It is Christ Church of Tom's River, 415 Washington Street, Block 687, Lot 16. The applicant seeks use D1 variance and preliminary and final major site plan approval to construct a proposed 949 square foot homeless shelter addition with 17 beds connected to an existing outreach office of the Church of Christ. The proposed homeless shelter is not permitted in the R150 zone. Number of parking spaces, 183 parking spaces required or permitted. Mr. York.
Thank you. For the record, RBO York, known as York Jacobus and Dooley, representing the applicants. The last hearing, Mr. Gazarovski's witness was testifying. He had not concluded cross-examination. That's pretty much that Mr. Walker.
I didn't hear all.
We were
What
going
I
to
said, it's your turn.
You're
The short of it is, it's your turn.
Let me first, I believe when we left off,
Microphone, sir.
when we left off, where's Mr. Who's that? You saw on this? Sure. Thank you for the courtesy. Let the record reflect that my name is Ron Gazarovski. I am here representing a neighbor whose name is Paul Y-R-H-I-N-E. And we also here is Mr. Kristecki. Again, it's my understanding that he's representing his wife. I spoke to Mr. Kristecki this morning, and he and I are making a motion to the effect that we believe that one of the board members has a possible conflict with regards to participating in this application. You're not making these comments disrespectfully, but based upon the law, I think that Mr. Millian may have a conflict and has to step down and recuse himself. Who? I'm sorry, did I pronounce it correctly? It's my understanding that she is a member of various groups dealing with homeless shelters, participating with them, fraternizing with them, being perhaps a member of those associations. If that is so, I would respectfully submit that she would have a conflict with regards to participating in this application as municipal homeless shelter.
All right. Before we go any further, we're going to pass over to our counsel if we can make a ruling on your.
Well, gentlemen, I always appreciate the professional courtesy, the heads up. I don't know what you're referring to, but certainly if any member of the board is a member of any other type of agency or not agency, any other type of association, as long as it's not a part of this association, I don't believe that that's a conflict. The board member would not have a direct interest and indirect interest, whether pecuniary or otherwise. So I don't see that as a conflict. It doesn't matter what association Ms. Termelin has, as long as it's not with this association or this entity, it's not a conflict. And she doesn't own property within 200 feet, it's not a conflict. So if you wanted to raise the issue, you should have called me and raised it ahead of time. But what you're saying, hang on a second, but what you're saying right now, it's not a conflict.
Well, first of all, I think that if I raise it as an issue, then that person who will raise the conflict has to represent.
We're not putting it on the fly. It's not a conflict. We're going to proceed.
How do you know what
And Mr. Chairman, I believe where we are in the application is, I believe,
Public comment.
Mr. Molliver was now subject to board questioning and public comment. So I believe that's where we are in the application.
Please, Mr. Dasty, if I may, Edward Lisbecki, on behalf of the objector, 9 feet from the property in question. I represent that property owner who was definitely impacted. So my position is If someone has a demonstrative bias to one particular organization or another, I don't think it has a relevance. You said the question of need is not relevant. It is. That's for the benefit. It's relevant. It's a need. But here we have the question of bias. And if a person is working with organizations identical to the organization before you today, they can have a demonstrable. Maybe her questioning was appropriate. She was the one that raised it. She went to her cell phone and found a location on Hooper Avenue would be more beneficial. She's the one who raised the issue about children being impacted by this application. But when it comes to the question of bias, we don't know which way she's going to go, and we shouldn't have to guess. If somebody has a particular association and bias, they shouldn't be hearing this application. That's my position, Mr. Cassidy. I know your position, and I respect it.
Appreciate it.
Now, very briefly, we've been doing this for 6 months. If you thought there was a conflict, it should have been raised at the beginning. But
One at a time.
at a time.
When I started out,
Hang on. Well, Harvey, go ahead. Let's one at a time.
Now, if it was just raised, there's only one way a board member gets disqualified, and the law is clear. The board member has to believe that that board member has a bias, a prejudice, or a conflict. The board cannot disqualify a board member. So let's start with that. The only one that can disqualify themselves is each of you. So if Dana believes she has a conflict, and I don't know what it is, she's the only one that can say, I have a conflict, I'm stepping down. Mr. Dasty can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that's the law. Whether or not she has a conflict, I so far have not heard, so far she's a member of a group that likes homeless people or something.
that's not.
No, she's an advocate.
Can I finish? Is it okay, guys?
But don't say something.
Well, here's how it works. I get to speak.
Everybody hold up. It's going to be a long night. We're speaking one at a time. Mr. York, do you have anything further?
The only thing further I have, it's no different than if I were here representing St. Joseph's Church and one of you was a member of a church down the street. That doesn't mean you can't hear the application.
All right, gentlemen.
Just if I may, with all due respect, I would have given you notice. I received something in the mail. Actually, it was brought to me all over Google too, about the association that Ms. Tormelin, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, Tormelin, fine. It's not only associated, but volunteers are kind with homeless and goes to board meetings. And she also said she was on the soup kitchen. But she's the one that has to make that decision. It's now for the first time been brought to my attention. I would have given you notice. So, Mr. Zastrowski.
Let's do it this way. Let's do it
So may I ask, what law are you referring to that only the board member can disqualify himself?
The municipal land use law.
Where?
Gentlemen, we're not doing this. Ms. Vermillion, do you have a bias in regard to this application?
I do not have
Is
advice.
there any reason at all as to why you're not able to judge this application freely?
Absolutely not.
Thank you. Let's proceed. And Mr. Chairman, as I indicated, I believe where we are in the application process, direct and cross of the real estate expert is done. Now I believe we're up to board questions, board professional questions, and public comment.
I have the same notes.
May I just proceed? When we were last here, Mr. Muller testified that he
You're
was
too
asked.
light, closer.
Nobody can hear you.
She can't
Nobody
hear.
can hear you.
Close again? How's that?
Please keep
Okay. I apologize. There are a series of questions which were posed by the board, some of which were perhaps unexpected. I did bring Mr. Muller back. I would like to call him back for some very brief rebuttal as to the board's questions.
Before we journey down that road, we're also going to take advice from council.
Well, Mr. Gazarovski, his questioning isn't done. He still hasn't been subject to professional questions and public questions. So I don't know that the rebuttal, we're not even there yet.
All right, so what's your position is that if he does testify as rebuttal, that is the conclusion of the hearing?
I don't know that there is a rebuttal because you had your chance for direct and he was cross.
This is rebuttal.
This is flying over there.
Ron, you had your redirect of him
Pardon me?
already. You had your redirect of him already.
I brought my expert back to testify in response to the questions which were posed by the board. This hearing is not over. I believe I have the right to call him back, which rebuttal or further direct.
I think it's up to the board whether they want you to call him back a third time. You've had him on direct and redirect.
I would request of the board that in light of the questions that were posed by the board, give my expert witness who's done some research as to those questions, to perhaps spend an additional 10 or 15 minutes presenting additional testimony.
What I can offer you is straw poll. We could take a, if it's proper, you know,
Mr. Chairman, it's completely up to the board, whether you want to hear again.
we can poll the board members to see if they're interested in additional testimony or amended testimony. Is that fair? Is that fair to you?
I'm sorry, I apologize, I didn't hear what you said.
I'm sure. I offered to take a poll of the board members if they were interested in amended testimony from your expert.
Well, I'm not saying I agree with that, but I would certainly consent to it.
I'm
We have
sure
the
you
right
don't,
to
you
do
don't
that.
agree. That's the best I can offer you.
I have to accept that, I don't agree with it.
Fair enough. Board members, by show of hands, is there an interest in anyone hearing additional testimony from his name escapes me, I'm sorry.
Mr. Oliver.
Molliver. Mr. Molliver, regarding his testimony, or are we just looking to hear board member questions and public questions? Board members. Okay. So it looks like we're looking for board member questions and public questions.
You're not going to allow Mr. Oliver to testify further.
Doesn't appear that the board is interested in that, and based on the advice of counsel, that's our prerogative. Perhaps you can weave that into your closing statements.
Pardon me?
Perhaps you can weave that into your closing statements.
Let's proceed then. Where are we at now as to how we're proceeding?
Board questions and then public questions of your witness.
Mr. Muller, you would come forward, please, and respond to these questions. Perhaps in responding, you can go on to what you're concerned about. Good evening.
Good evening, sir. Board members, questions of the witness?
Do you have to get sworn in again?
You were sworn previously.
Oh, okay.
No bite at the apple? Then our favorite part. We're going to take public questions regarding the witness's testimony. Those interested in asking questions can start lining up along the wall. Friendly reminder, this is questions regarding the witness's testimony,
Good question.
not comment.
Board has no questions?
We have no questions. No questions. So we never time questions.
Mr. Chairman, there were questions asked last time. I wasn't-
By board members.
Correct. So additional questions.
Yeah. So if you have a question regarding the witness's testimony, please step forward.
Dina Puglisi, P-U-G-L-I-S-I, 90 Flat Point Road. Flat Point Road. Did you, I live on a United Class River.
Microphone.
Speak.
Thank you.
Sorry. I live on Flat Point Road. We were wondering if you could just explain a little bit more what the adverse impacts might be on property values in our neighborhood?
Yeah,
Go into detail with that.
I think it's generally agreed upon that a purpose of having zoning in a municipality is twofold: to maintain a perceived quality of life and to maintain property values by having zoning. So typically zoning is transitional. You'll have residential, and maybe you'll have some neighborhood commercial, then you'll have on the other side of the proverbial railroad track, you'll have industrial, and you have different zones throughout the town. Your property, homeless shelter that I investigated on Windsor Avenue, are in single-family residential zones. And I'm not making up a new theory. If you have a non-single family use in a single-family residential zone, it tends to detract or lower the value. Now, It could be a ball field or 2 ball fields. It could be a parking lot. It could be a pump station. It could be a multi-family house. It could be a homeless shelter. Okay? In my opinion, and I think I've got market evidence to support that, property values would be diminished. My study showed an average of 12, closer to 15% loss in value attributable to proximity to a homeless shelter. All right? So, to answer your question, I haven't studied your specific neighborhood with respect to a matched pair study, but I think, we use proxies. If it worked in this section of town, it should carry over to another section of town. And that's what I was hired to do in this case, to do a study to see what impact, if any, I think it would be an adverse impact.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Paul Williams, for 35 Broad Street, Township. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Do you recall much from the last time that you were here testifying?
Yes,
Was it a rough night?
it was a rough night.
A little rough night. One of the questions I had for you was that, did you feel at all that you were blindsided by some of the questions that were posed to you? Maybe perhaps by evidence or opinions that were not based on evidence that's been before this board yet?
Somewhat.
Something like that. And in fact, some of those questions were posed to you as you were in the middle of your direct testimony, correct?
That's correct.
And in fact, those questions came to you by members on this board without even being acknowledged by the chair or president of this board, correct?
I believe that's correct.
So it was a bit off-putting, correct?
Yep.
So here we are tonight. It appears that there was some extra testimony that you wanted to present that otherwise might not be able to be presented. But I want to ask you the question, can you tell us, particularly this board and the audience that's here, what it is that you wanted to address a little while ago, nonetheless?
Objection.
Of course you do. It's my question. It's a fair question.
Let's hear the grounds for the objection.
Let's hear it, Mr. York.
The objection goes beyond the direct testimony. He's entitled to He's entitled to cross-examine based on the testimony given, not testimony that was not given.
I believe he's testifying to this gentleman based upon questions posed by him to the board, so he certainly could respond to this.
And this is also the first time that a member of the,
One at a time, right?
this is also the first time that a member of the public has been able to ask this witness questions directly, rebuttal, indirectly, however you want to pay me. This is the first time a member of the public got to ask this witness questions, and I asked him a question.
Don't frame it as if we were barring you the opportunity. This is that time in the rotation.
I get that.
Mr. Dasty.
Mr. Chairman, I think asking him the question that after his first night of testimony, if he reviewed any additional documentation, has additional information to provide, I think is a fair question, but it's going to be a very limited answer. We're not going to go on for 10 minutes.
And I would agree with maybe the manner in which I posed my question was inartful. But that is my question. Since the last meeting that you were here testifying, have you done any additional research with regard to the questions that were previously posed to you?
Yes, sir.
And can you tell us what that information is?
Yes. As I explained at the last meeting, I used 3 sets of matched pairs. And I went back and looked at those matched pairs again, photographed them again. It was a little lighter this time, so I was able to get better pictures. But more importantly, I got aerial photographs that show these houses on Windsor Avenue and in proximity to the ball field, to the parking lot, to the homeless shelter. And uniformly, the properties that are further away from those entities, the ball field, the parking lot, the homeless shelter, are sold for higher value than those that were proximate. Quite frankly, the houses directly across the street from the parking lot and the ball field have sales in that location, and they're just not as appealing, they're not as attractive in the marketplace, and no offense to any property owners, as those that are removed. And I have those aerial photographs if you'd like to see them.
So I would like to see those aerial photos. Could you show them to me on the board?
No, we're not doing that.
Why not?
Because that's a back-end way of him doing his direct testimony again. If you want to ask him what research he did and from first hearing to now, that's fair. But we're not going to do a back-end way for him to introduce new exhibits all over again to undo the testimony he did the first time. So your first question was fair. He updated, he indicated what additional research he did, information that he saw, but he's not going to introduce a whole bunch of new exhibits all over again and undo what he did at the last hearing.
Well, are you supposing that you know what he wants to introduce?
I'm not supposed to.
Well, you're saying a whole bunch. It could be one document, it could be 2 or 3.
I don't think
Is that too burdensome to the point where you're going to have a problem with it?
Mr. Williams, hang on a second. I don't think it is, it doesn't matter if it's 1, it doesn't matter if it's 20. The board has already made a determination that he's not going to be called up again for direct examination.
But-
And that's what, hang on a second, that's what you're trying to do. You asked him a question, which was a fair question, but you're not going to lay a roadmap for him to come up here and just lay out his direct testimony all over again. That's improper.
I'm not even suggesting that I am, but that sounds like something as a learned attorney is a legitimate thing to do, to lay the roadmap so that the witness that I want to elicit testimony from can make an explanation. If I've laid the roadmap, I've laid the roadmap. It seems to be certainly appropriate. And why this witness, why you're saying, your legal advice to this board is that this witness should not be allowed to do that. And candidly, you're interjecting that without the board even asking for your opinion on that.
Okay? That's what I think.
With absolute respect,
Just now, when I asked the question, the board did not ask you for your opinion. You interjected.
All right.
I asked this witness if he could show us whatever documents from the research that he has done since the last meeting, if he could expound on some of that. I don't know if it's 1, I don't know, to use your example, I don't know if it's 20. I don't know what that is, but I've asked no question. Perhaps, if it gets to be a bit cumulative, then it would be appropriate to say, not right now, sir, we've already said no to that. But you cut him off at the knees before he even gets the opportunity to do so in response to my question, I have an issue with that.
Okay. Sorry, I have an issue.
may I make a comment? I think that if you're going to object to the introduction of certain exhibits that have to be marked for introduction to evidence, and then you can opine that you're...
Microphone.
You just can't have a blanket denial of his intent to go forward.
Ron, it's public questions. It's not the opportunity for him to give direct testimony and put on your case in chief to object. Again, you know that. You know that. So stop trying to do it.
Look,
Mr. Chairman,
I'm not trying to-
unless the members of the board want to see the exhibits, it's certainly up to you. But I think this is a backhanded way of trying to do last meeting all over again.
No, we're not. He's responding to specific questions that were posed by members of this board. Allegations made with regard to where property is located, what it was, and the like. He's responding to those questions by the public wanting to know what it is. It's a simple. Now, if you want to look at the exhibits and say they can't be admitted, fine, but he has a right to refer to them and make a determination as to whether they're objectionable or not.
So what I'll do is I'll poll the board and see if they're interested in seeing the pictures. Fair?
No.
Your objection is noted.
Thank you.
Board members.
I have a question. It's the information that you're looking to present here tonight,
We can't hear you.
I'm sorry. The information that you're looking to subject here tonight, to submit now, Was that something that was seen before?
It's an aerial photograph.
Was that the one that was presented before?
No, I had a map that showed the different
So that
properties.
would be new evidence that you would be trying to bring to the board, and this is not the place for new evidence.
I just think it's a refinement.
No, it's new evidence. It's new evidence. We haven't seen it before, and this is not the place for that.
Respectfully, I think the public can answer the witness on what.
Can't hear you.
Nobody can hear you.
The microphone.
My point was, if he's asking a question by the public, and the public asks him, what did you base your opinion on? He can refer to the document that he based his opinion on.
She can refer to the document and evidence.
Let me just continue for a second. One of the issues I was raised in that particular name of the interview.
We can't hear you.
Ron, speaking to the microphone, nobody can hear you.
I'm sorry. There's an existing use, and the property then came before the board because there was going to be a transfer of that title. Reference was made to the board about that decision of the planning board and the zoning board, whoever it was. I'm saying that he has a copy now of that resolution, which the public, whoever also is referred to, and he can present it to the board as to what it says.
Again, it would be a new piece of evidence to submit, and that's not what is permitted in this hearing.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, we're getting too far afield.
Yeah,
and-
I'm sort of in agreement that based on the advice of counsel, this is new information. We're going to view it as an improper question. Mr. Williams, you have anything further?
Thank you.
So you're saying that the exhibits cannot
Yes.
be marked, cannot be marked?
I was very clear. Very clear.
You can continue.
Thank you. So it's quite a conundrum at the moment. But in any event, at the last meeting, there was a question posed to you from a board member who made a specific reference to the value of their own property. Do you recall that?
I believe so.
Microphone.
Yes, I believe so.
It was in the context of showing a contrast and to undermine your testimony, the credibility of your testimony, actually, when this board member said, well, my property was appraised at this amount, which appeared to be significantly higher than what you had estimated. Does that sound familiar to you?
Yes.
That you know of, was there any testimony ever presented before this board about the value, and I mean evidence, not a statement by a board member, but was there any evidence presented to this board before about a board member's value of the person's property?
None that I'm aware of.
And so in that context, that would have been one of the things that kind of rattled you a little bit that night. Does that sound correct?
That was one of the elements, yes.
Well, sir, I want to say thank you for your time in this matter. Thank you. Thank you, board members.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Next speaker, please.
My name is Pam Quatse, Quatse, 1C Swallow Street, Manchester, New Jersey, 08759. My question is, when you did these evaluations looking at a ball field and a homeless shelter and a parking lot, was there a certain time frame within the building of the ballpark to when evaluations of immediate neighbors went down? And did that evaluation continue to stay down, or did that evaluation ever change, like adjust up higher?
Well, I'm confident that the values changed over time, but I specifically did my valuation analysis as a snapshot in current time. Okay, so I didn't analyze trends that go back to when the ball field was constructed.
Okay. Because, the reason why I'm asking is because I'm thinking that there could be confounding variables that could impact the valuation of homes. For example, when I purchased my home, I used to live in Toms River. And when I purchased my home near Ocean County College, I paid $123,000 for my home, which was in a senior development. When I sold that house 10 years later, the market had changed so that the best I could get for my home was $89,000 after I had put $40,000 worth of improvements into it. So I just want to offer the suggestion that there are sometimes other mediating facts, and that's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Sometimes market declines, okay, this depreciation.
There's no question.
Yeah, please step forward.
Tiffany D'Souza, P-E-S-O-U-S-A, 189 Maple Avenue, Heights. So I had a question regarding the analysis on Windsor Avenue. Did you differentiate what impact the park field had in comparison to the home shelter?
I saw the impact that it had on the houses that I found on Windsor that were really close, within hundreds of feet of the parking lot and ball field, as opposed to those that were several hundred feet away, quarter-mile away, where those values were higher.
Okay, so this is based on the field, not the home shelter. Your assessment of the decreased value is then based on the fields and the parking, not the home shelter.
Well, in the instance we just spoke about, those residences were really close to the park. And the park came up as an issue at the last meeting, okay? But there are comparables that I presented as well that are not near any park or ball field, and a parking lot or ball field, and one of the sales is 2 houses away from the homeless shelter. The other one's further down the street, maybe a quarter of a mile. And the one that's a quarter mile away sold for, I think, 12% more.
Was the house different size? It's a lot different. No. Were they comparable in?
Well, they were comparable. Well, that's what I was going to show in the pictures. But
Well, you can just answer it.
yes, they were at 2 of the 3 comparables. I've compared ranch to ranch. One of them had identical lot size. One of them, there was a difference in the size of the property, the size of the house itself, and appraisers adjust for that.
Also, isn't the homeless shelter closer to Fisher Boulevard, which is a busier street?
Yes,
So wouldn't the house prices and worth be less in an area that is on the corner of the various road?
also closer to the water, so that's a countervailing influence.
I don't think you can see any water from Windsor
I'm
Avenue.
not saying singing, I'm just saying closer.
So you can't differentiate between which one was the cause of the homeless shelter, which one was the cause of the baseball field, and which one is the cause of the busy road.
No, I could just look at the totality of the evidence and say, this property was real close to the homeless shelter or the ball field, and a similar property was further away, okay? And there may be multiple, I admitted to this a few weeks ago, there may be multiple influences involved in the differential.
Well, there is a way to do the math to assess whether, taking out the mitigating factor of the softball field, the baseball fields, did you do any of the math to see what solely the homeless shelter's influence had on the prices surrounding?
Nothing like regression analysis, stuff like that. No, I don't think there was enough data points along Windsor Avenue to have anything statistically significant.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Please step forward.
Thank you for having me. My name is Gregory Andrus. I am with Portraits of the Jersey
Sorry, your last name?
Yeah, of course. Andrus, A-N-D-R-U-S. and it's an honor to be here. Yeah, do I have to say it? Because I'm just because a lot of people follow my page. And thank you. Townsend. Thank you. I'm a homeowner. I have great respect for people who own property and what their concerns are, what their value. I'm also a huge advocate for human beings, all human beings. So, a question before you, based on those 2 points. The evidence that you gave, as far as the ball field, gas station, and homeless shelter, is that closely aligned to where this homeless shelter would be? Is there also a ball field and a gas station? And with the houses that are in question where you're taking the evidence from, are they situated where the houses are that you're looking at today? So how much are they in line with each other?
Well, just to be clear, I don't think I ever mentioned anything about a gas station.
I'm sorry, maybe I misheard you. You said three points, right? Was it ball field? Homeless shelter?
Homeless shelter, parking lot, there's a
Parking lot,
pump
okay.
station.
Pump station, that's my mistake. Okay,
Okay,
so that's what I misunderstood.
With the
Sorry
station.
for that. Okay. So would you say that they mirror each other?
Well, I would say, in my experience, that they all have an influence on the character of the neighborhood and the resulting.
With all due respect, I mean, literally, do they mirror each other? Is there a ball field, a pump station, and a homeless shelter like there is here in Township?
Mr. Andrews, you just have to let him answer. Okay?
Sorry.
I'm not sure what you mean by mirror. Are they identical uses?
What I'm asking is, if you would say that there was a lower property value with the houses that were closer to these situations, would it be the same for this situation here in Township, or if that's not the exact same situation, but there is not a ball field, if there's not a pump station, but it's going to be a homeless shelter that's going to be behind a church that'll be out of sight? Would you then perceive that it would actually be a...
Mr.
Kozrowski, ask the question, and please let him answer.
Okay, so it's going to be behind a church. Okay.
Folks in the audience, none of that helps, please.
I'm being respectful. Please be respectful to me. Thank you. So what I'm asking is, it's simply just for, like, you're speculating that there will be a loss to housing value based on what you said before, but this is not the same situation. It's all I'm asking.
Look, I wish I could have told you that within, several hundred yards of Christ Church, there were several homeless shelters, and here's the impact that it had upon the neighbor's house when it sold, and let's say it sold again after they opened the doors as a homeless shelter. But that evidence is really hard to come by. So you go to, I happen to find a homeless shelter on Windsor Avenue with sales on Windsor Avenue, except for Garfield and another street. And we use that as a proxy. We say, well, it worked here. Intuitively, it makes sense that when you have a non-resident, single-family residential use in a neighborhood, what we call an inharmonious use, it would have an adverse impact. That's my instinct and my opinion as a professional, and I found 3 what we call matched pairs to support that.
Okay, thank you, appreciate that. With that being said, would you say that this is the same exact situation though, as what you had already tried to find a match for? Because this is a church that's being used as property to be able to house homeless shelter. This is not a pump station or a ballpark.
I'm going to check points again. It is not a church. It's as simple as that. The homeless shelter is not a church.
It's housed on that property.
It's not a church.
It's housed on the property.
It's what?
It's housed on that
Folks, the
property.
dialogue between you doesn't need to happen.
Demo.
Mr. Dasty.
I don't want to take any more time, I'm sorry. I'll step down, but I just wanted to just...
Sir, if you have additional questions, please, you
Okay.
can ask your questions. I just need a legal.
It's ancillary to the church, so I think it's a fair question, but I think we've answered it. It's ancillary to the church, so I think it's a fair question.
It's ancillary to the church. That's complete misrepresentation. It's an independent building, independent entity, independent tenant, independent. It is in no way associated with Christ Church. And to refer to this board, it is.
Sir, then the applicant.
Are they aware that they're not in any way associated with this?
All right, we're not doing that. Your questions are of the witness, not the lawyer.
So my question to you is, again, now where the situation is going to be, this is a completely separate situation from what you had already tried to make a match. So my contention is it really an accurate representation of what you're trying to associate here, because it's not the same situation.
I think it's fair and reasonable and credible evidence, okay? Is it perfect evidence? No.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Ma'am, please step forward.
Monique Mikowski, 28 Brooks Road, Toms River. Michowski. So I was here last time, and I'd like you to just, if you can remind me of your, what you do and your expertise.
I wear two hats. I'm a university professor at Monmouth University.
Mm-hmm.
I've been on faculty for 46 years. I founded the Real Estate Institute 30 years ago, and I directed it up until 12 years ago when I became the dean of the school, School of Business. And I also have an active consulting, real estate appraisal consulting practice, which is basically litigation support.
So it's safe to assume you're an expert in this area, and when you're doing this analysis, it's because you're an expert and you're really looking at, the impact it's going to have on not only on our property values, but the quality of our lives, because it is going to change. Would you agree?
I would agree. I'd just like to underscore that by saying I get contacted a lot by potential clients or attorneys and say, I'd like you to study something. And at the end of the study, I say, can't help you. I don't see any market evidence to support that. In this case, I did.
Thank you. And, I know that everything's supposed to be in question, but I noticed some people have some statements. I mean, I'm also sensitive to others, and I care, but I care also about our community, and I appreciate you being here and sharing your expertise. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Sir, please.
Hello, everybody. James Anzano, 67 Cranmore Drive, Toms River. A-N-Z-A-N-O. So I heard you mention that there are zones in Toms River that do permit this use, a homeless shelter. Right? This zone does not permit the use, correct?
Right.
That's why you need a variance.
Right.
But there are zones that do permit it. Yeah. Just curious.
Hang on, the question's not done.
I seem to recall, I may be wrong, but I seem to recall that it may be a conditional use in some zones, but I don't think it's as of right. I don't think it's a permitted use in some zones.
Okay. So I can only ask this person that question. Are there any permitted zone, any zones in Toms River that do permit this use? That would not require a variance?
There are not.
There are not. Okay. So what I'm getting at is, if there are, why not look to the permitted zones first versus putting it into a residential neighborhood?
Sir, that's something you can take up with public.
Secondly, this is also not for him, but I have to ask, do members of the board live in the neighborhood where this homeless shelter is going to be?
Sir, at this time, it's only questions for the witness.
I understand. Yeah, and I knew that. But that, to me, is a relevant question. That the people who are voting on something actually live in the neighborhood where this is going to be. And I mean, we all feel that people should have a roof over their heads, right? We all do. But there's designated areas for everything.
Sir, Mr. Anzano, there's going to be public comment.
I have one other question. What percentage did you say that property values might decline from putting this permitted use in a neighborhood?
Approximately 15%.
15% decline. All right, to me, that is a significant appreciation and value of a large investment in my life. Okay, so that's why I came here tonight, to mention that point. All right, if there is a better place for this homeless shelter, I'm all for it and I'll contribute to it. Thank you.
Are you next to this?
Joe,
I think so.
My bad, I'm so sorry. I thought you were sitting here.
Marie Morgan, 2476 Avenue, Concord. Junior Warren.
ma'am, could you please speak into the microphone?
I have a question for you. When you asked about the pumping, when you said about the pumping station, what pumping station are you speaking of?
If you're looking at the shelter at 2245 Windsor Avenue,
Facing the shelter.
yeah, it's to the left.
That's the water company pumping station? Is there not a municipal sewer authority pumping station right at that ball field?
Don't recall.
There is.
Okay, well, that may have very
So
well.
that has another impact on your property values when you have the ball field, the two pumping stations. You go down, Windsor is a very heavily trafficked area. It's my local neighborhood, so I'm very familiar with the area. Your properties that are a little bit to the right of the ball field, closer to Coolidge, are very different than the ones that are right around, on the north side of Windsor Avenue. As you go to Fisher, you also have a strip mall. You have a catch basin or whatever those things are called. So there are a lot of impacts in that neighborhood that would change your property values. Do you agree?
There are, yes.
So it's not just a homeless shelter.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Correct.
Joe Lombardi, 6 River Bend, Toms River, New Jersey. I guess my question for you is more of a point. I think there's a lot of people in this room. There's a
Joe,
gentleman earlier.
points, questions.
Question. Okay. Question earlier. You were asked if Windsor is relevant to the address that you're speaking of. Windsor, there's a ballpark right next to this church that we're talking about. It's a country club, very similar. You said there's a pump out station. Right behind there, this church, there's a water station. I don't know if you're familiar with that. There's a parking lot. There's also a parking lot there. The two places are very similar. Now, I guess my question for you is there any chance this homeless shelter will improve property values?
Folks,
First of all, I don't think that the similarities are as great as you claim. I would disagree with that.
Is there any chance maybe having some homeless crash out in a bunker might help, create other hazards and might increase property values for people that live in that area?
Well, I doubt it.
A
But
couple
I
extra
didn't
hazards on the golf
study.
course?
I just studied to see what the influence was. When I found those matched pairs that are in my report, if what you're saying is true, you would expect to see the property values close to the homeless shelter have higher values than those that are a little removed. I didn't find it.
All right, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
You've had somebody behind you, Mitch.
I'm sorry. Oh, bring it off.
excuse me, before we go
No, I
to the second round of questions, is anyone else with questions that haven't had a chance to ask a question?
Oh. Thank you. All right.
Marianne Beja, B-A-G-D-A-C, 73 Cranmore, Marianne Beja. In your experience, where a variance is obtained, do you find that that opens a precedent for additional variances for different uses than what is zoned? it's not your area of expertise. I didn't look at the transcript from the prior
No, no,
meeting, so I thought it was something that you might have touched upon.
I mean, sometimes a variance is allowed and then boards might say, you know, we gave it once before, we're gonna give it again because there's some compelling reasons, inherently beneficial uses, et cetera, that warrant it. And the character of neighborhoods and land values and trends change over time. So, more variances might be created, but that's not necessarily always true.
And once there's a variance, could there be an expansion of the scope of the use of the property beyond what might be originally proposed for the initial variance?
You'd have to go back and request another variance, but yes, it's always, the potential is always there.
What about the impact of trying to provide necessary services for whatever non-approved use of that property, whether it be additional transportation or other services that would need to be brought in? Would that, you think, have any other impact on the neighborhood in general, not even just property values, but the neighborhood in general?
Yes, a use a change in use tends to generate spillover effects. Sometimes they're anticipated, sometimes they're not.
Well, there's no public transportation on that roadway, which I think would be a factor in terms of, people being able to get the services and support that
Right.
they would need. So I don't know if down the road that then becomes an issue, which is part of why I think some people think another location with adequate transportation and access to counseling services, job services, whatever it be, would be more appropriate. But
It would certainly change the traffic flow, if that's understood.
all right, thank you. Thank you.
Right, wait just a second. No, I'm trying to. Oh, that's a great day. The question, when you did the analysis on the housing values, did you do an analysis of communities where homeless are on the street and the impact that has on housing values when they're congregated outside without housing?
No.
Do you think that it would be an appropriate analysis to compare the influence on housing values for unhoused homeless living on the streets versus homeless inside a building?
I think it would be an interesting study, but that's not what I was asked to do. So the answer is no, I didn't do that.
One other question. When you were talking about Windsor Avenue and the houses that sold, when were those selling dates?
Well, October of 24,
Okay.
June of 23. Do you want the others or no?
No, it's okay. My question is, those were lower than around the community, correct? Those houses were sold for lower.
Well, it depends on, no, some were,
Of your take.
I didn't hear you.
well, it depends which property you're looking at. There was a differential between
Right now. Well, why don't you introduce
those that were close
Why don't you introduce
to non-single family. Those that weren't.
Well, one of the reasons I asked is that the shelter's been closed for a long time. So you're still seeing a negative impact on housing values. And there's nobody living in there, walking in there, going in and out of there, parking in there. Then really, what our document said just on October 2024, that's over a year out.
If you call a measure, wouldn't she?
So,
Well, when the variance was granted
I'm sorry?
last year
the case.
to permit a community shelter, homeless shelters continue, all right? I suppose it was the expectation, nobody goes to get the variance that says we're not moving in.
well, they already had variance for a homeless shelter before that. So a homeless shelter has actually been in that location since 1987.
40 years, almost a year,
Yeah, but I
right?
don't have anything to ask for.
Did you do a comparison of what the cost value is over that time period, given that you're focusing on this area?
No, it was current. I mean, it went back as far as 23, so I trended those sales to current values.
Well, the previous shelter closed in July of 2023, so most of your references then are after nobody was using it.
It doesn't matter that it's my reference. The fact is the market looked at it and said, this is what we're willing to pay for property.
But my point is that if the shelter is not currently open and operating with people in and out of it, and you see a depreciation in home value, then
It's not. Why
it's
didn't
not
public-
Windsor Avenue, it does not have anybody in it.
Please just address the witness.
Okay, when you were assessing the home values, that the shelter was closed, sorry.
Take a second.
Sure, I'm not sure.
Okay.
I could think of 3 different things, but now is not the time.
I think the point was, that's the point, all of these examples came after the closure, and so if the place is not being used, then people aren't going in and out of it for over a year, and the homes around it depreciate, then you couldn't say that it's because it was used for homeless, because at the time no homes were in.
Well, you know, nobody's in that pump station either.
Real quick.
But the point is, it's a use, it's a
So real
physical.
quick, I can hear somebody's cell phone. Can we please make sure, whoever's it is, can we make sure that all cell phones are silenced, please?
He's not in the room.
Wonderful.
You bring up the pump station, but I believe that everybody poops, and we all need a pump station. So I think the whole point of why we have variances and do these things is we have to get regulations for things that may not be what everybody wants to see. But as a community, are still things that we require. Which brings me back to, I do think it would be important to do analysis of what it would cost, what would impact it would have on homeowners if you have homeless people wandering the streets 24/7 because they don't stop. Thank you.
I'm sure.
Rod, use the microphone. Can't hear you.
So I'm going to object to a member of the public coming up repetitive times.
I'll note the objection, but I will say that since several speakers have now come up, it's obvious that we're done with questions here, so this will be the last witness that we'll take questions from. And then the board's going to take a brief recess.
Maria Borges, DNR My question is, when you did your evaluation in my neighborhood, did you take into consideration the latest FEMA flood map? Because I know what my flood insurance has changed since the last 3 years. So each year, if it has gone up, is that impacting when you say property values and the idea that people want to buy and live in that area? Because I know on a personal level, it is.
I am not sure, but I'm reasonably certain that the comparables that I have here are not in a FEMA designated flood hazard zone. I mean, by definition, every property is in a zone. The question is it prone to flooding? And I don't think these are. What was your address, please?
2407 6th Avenue, and I was surrounded by water. Water was across Garfield Avenue. I don't live on the other side of Fisher Boulevard. I live and I've been in this house for more than 40 years, and I've never seen water like that. So I know that has had an impact on property value in our neighborhood, and the expenses that the next people buy will be incurred. So that's what I'm asking you.
That would have an impact. That would have an impact on value. That I study it specifically with respect to these sales and whether or not they were in the flood zone? No. Thank you.
Okay. Board's going to take a 10-minute recess. We'll be back at 8:15. Folks, let's settle in.
Yep.
With that, forgive me if I'm wrong, it looks like we are at public comment, sir.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. If you recall, I attempted to access the district's office. I've spoken to Mr. Dasty. We have marked them for identification only. They're not being moved into evidence. The reason for that is, if in fact there's an appeal, then I have that as part of the record, but not in evidence. Mr. Dasty agrees with that.
It's fine, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Beck.
Yes, board members, thank you. Edward was on behalf of the property owner, which ironically happens to be my wife. I don't own the property, she does, so I got to do what she tells me to do. We're definitely objecting to this, and I'll tell you the reason why. Mr. York started off.
I'm not sure.
You closed out Mr. Gazarovski's case. I have my case to put in now, as an effect.
Mr. Bezdek is still on objectors, although he hasn't been here for the better part of the winter. He has a client, he indicated he has one witness, and he's gonna make quick work of this.
Yes, I will. Okay. Let me start off by saying this. Mr. York, when he presented his case to you, and I have the transcript, I'm not going to use my words, I'm going to use his. He said that this is an inherently beneficial use to the community at large. Beneficial and benefit are one and equal. He said this is in of itself, and I'll give you a page in line. And I'll tell you this, it's called, when I work, a circular argument. He said the very nature of this application is by definition an inherently beneficial use.
Just one.
That's Mr. York's page.
Could you identify the transcript at the date of the hearing?
If I may. The transcript was for,
Microphone, please.
I'm sorry, September 12th.
Microphone.
September 12th, 2024.
And that hearing was disqualified because the notice was not proper and therefore the transcript cannot be used.
I don't understand how it can be used.
Before we go any further, Mr.
I believe that we've already, the board's already ruled on that, I think a few months ago, that hearing was invalidated because there was no proper notice, and the hearing was starting, the application was starting over again. So anything that was admitted into evidence then is not admissible.
I'll go by it. I won't even use the transcript. Let me tell you what Mr. York said. Mr. York said, I'm telling you what you testified to, Harvey. No, I'm telling you what you said to the board to put the application through. In the second meeting, the other transcript, you said that this is an inherently beneficial use under the statute to the community at large. The community happens to be the homeowners that are here today. So I'm submitting to you that Mr. York never proved his case by any proof whatsoever. He then went on to cite to you cases, Lutheran Evangelical Church versus Hoboken. That case has no relevance here, but let me tell you what it's about. Mr. York went on, and I was present when he did it. He went back to the time of Moses, where churches, religious institutions gave sanctuary to people that needed sanctuary. He went then through a very dialogue all the way back to the time of Moses. In that case, the Hoboken case did that. But they also said, this is not a case where a town, Hoboken, can throw people out of a church that exists in a zone that allowed people to live in that church. So that's what Hoboken stands for. It's called the rule. So everything else was overdicted or said by the board. The second case he wanted to look at, Homes for Hope, did not deal with any government money, no taxpayer money. They said it specifically was donations only. In that case, it was single-family homes for Homes of Hope, just wanting to convert them into two-family homes, not for men of 20 and 30 years of age, but for families. Distinguishable from this case, because this is a case of first impression. And I made that to you very, very seriously. It's a case of first impression. Now, I did hear Mr. Fontana question Ms. Moore, who was the prime witness for Mr. York. Mr. York never provided any proof to any of his witnesses, either Ms. Moore or the pastor. In fact, the pastors shoot down this case. No proof whatsoever. What happened in this case is we have a church that makes the application in an R150 zone. That's the zone that these homeowners relied upon when they bought their homes and they moved in. They had a compact with the town of Township, agreed that This is where we're going to live and raise our children and our families. They relied on that, but now to their detriment, they're faced with you making the decision. And if you do, grant this, you're going to destroy their whole quality of life is going to be ruined. They can't recreate in their backyard. My client's home is 90 feet from this location. She has experienced in the past a bad neighbor. Garbage on the lawn, little whiskey bottles, empty, not 100 proof alcohol. I don't drink, but I'm told it's pretty strong. And she's put up with a bad neighbor all these years. They used to have alcohol anonymous. They used to have drug addicts. They used to have DWI people come for community service. That finally ended when the pastor lost his church. That's the building they want to put this in. That's where they want to put it in 20s, 30 years old, wearing backpacks, black masks, on my client's property walking, and I'll show you the photographs. 90 feet. Not very far.
Does your tape measure go 90 feet, sir?
This tape measure is being authentic. That's it. From the church where they want to build to my client's property, that's it. Her backyard.
9 feet? 90 or 9?
9 feet. 9 feet. Not 90. Not 90. 9. Yeah, and she has to tolerate today, presently. Forget about in the future what's going to happen if they put homeless people in there. Mr. York made a very good argument saying that I say it's so if it's inherently beneficial, but where's his proof? It's like the little lady in the Wendy's program. She goes up to the counter and says to the guy, "Where's the beef?" Well, where's the proof before you? It doesn't exist. It's not there. Why? Well, Mr. Fontana, credit to you. Very much so. Because you questioned this more. How did she screen these people? And you know what her answer was, Mr. Fontana? It was that they didn't screen them with any detectives, no police. They don't have any way of doing a background check. Did you remember when she said she uses staff? You remember your follow-up question? Remember that, right? It was her staff. And you said, what's the qualifications of her staff? And you remember your answer from her? They're former homeless people. They work for us. So you got homeless people interviewing and vetting new homeless people coming in. Do you think they're going to fit to being behavioral mental health? Both pastor and what's more, both said homeless people have mental problems. You want to subject these homeowners 9 feet away from their property to people that have mental issues? I don't have to tell you if you pick up the Post, the New York Post every day. People slicing people, stabbing people, throwing people on the subway tracks. It was Is Mr. Cristofelli no longer on the board? Christistilli. Roselli.
Name doesn't ring a bell to me, sir.
Let me see if I pronounce it. Crispin? Bianchi, no longer on the board?
Mr. Bianchini was not reappointed, sir. He's no longer.
All right, but his questioning was highly relevant. Because he said when he leaves his house, his wife has to lock the door. He's that much concerned. He said, this is a crazy, crazy world we live in. He gave that statement when questioning Ms. Moore. He also questioned her about the security. What kind of security you have? What do you do for the screening? Mr. Fontana did the same thing. I commend him. She couldn't answer that. She only has our staff interviewing people. She said to go to social media. So if somebody mentioned Megan's Law, she avoided that question, but Megan's Law is relevant. How do you know these people coming into this homeless shelter? How do you know who they are? How do I know? You don't know. Mr. York doesn't know. Pastor said they come and knock on her door all the time, over on Hooper Avenue. Then I cross-examined her. I said, by the way, didn't you send out flyers asking people to come to 405, the building where they want to put this house in? Yes. And you put out social media, yes. And you had a sign out front, and I'll show you photographs. It said, Community Resource Center. So I called the town. That was operating illegally. They shut them down. Shut them down. Because they were operating against the ordinance. So they changed the sign back to a little church. Because that was a little church at one time. So now the point is, you want to put 17 people in the bed. You don't know who they are, where they're from, and you can't probably Did you just get out of prison? No. Any mental problems, go behavioral health? No. Just get out of jail? No. None of these questions can be answered by them truthfully because they want to get ahead. So we have to live in the area of the unknown, which I submit to you, you shouldn't have to live there. Now, why do I say Attorney York didn't prove his case? He did prove his case because he didn't meet the statutory requirements of inherently beneficial use to the community. The community happens to be the homeowners. There are 150 homes where they're raising their children and their family. Mr. Williams, as a community speaker, said, what about the needs? Is there really a need for it? Because we know that there are other houses that are open. Pastor admitted to me there were 2 other agencies, nonprofits, that are presently housing and grabbed some of that $12.5 million. This is a money grab. They took some of the $12.5 million, they're housing people. True or not, I saw in the newspaper that the mayor removed them from Windy River Park and shut it down. 32 people placed in housing. Where is the proof that we have these needs for these people? 17 beds. Going further, Mr. York never met the statutory requirements because he never gave you proof that it's a beneficial use. Where's it a benefit? When Mr. Williams asked, where's the need? Mr. York objected. Mr. Dasty agreed to the objection and said it's not relevant. If you look up the definition of beneficial, the root is benefit. It means something you're gaining from something, and they're not gaining anything in these homes. They're losing. Forget about the value. That's monetary. I'm talking about quality of life. How people have to live worrying about a wife having to lock the door. And that was one of the board members who's not been reappointed. Had to lock the door for that because his wife was alone. Well, I'm a witness that I was alone. She's alone. She'll show you photographs how she has to live presently. It's not a good environment. It's not a safe environment. Presently, when you look at the people that are coming to this location, presently, not since this application was submitted did we start experiencing, I'm on Washington Street, people that are coming by in their 20s wearing black with hoods, masks, and backpacks. You ever see those pictures before on TV? Black dresses, black dressing, hoods, backpacks. They're coming in droves from down the post office area where the bus station is. They walk up Washington Street to the library. You all may have heard about what happened at the library. A homeless man assaults a photographer. Another person ODs at the library steps, because that's what they are. Some, not all. Yes, some people do lose their job, and
Mr. Dasty,
yes, sir.
because that gentleman,
I'll call my witness, Mr. Petty. I'm one of
it
them.
really is like a closing argument.
I know.
If you want to get sworn,
Yeah.
we'll swear at you all day, but if I can call your witness and we'll go on.
I'll call Paulette, and no relation to, no relation to Ray Liotta, the actor who, of course, passed away recently. A good actor. Where do you live?
She needs the mic.
4 Magnolia Lane, Town Center,
How long have you lived there?
11 years.
And for Magnolia Lane, can you tell us in proximity to this proposed building, how close is your house to that?
From last meeting, from my garage, it's 9 feet.
9 feet. Have you ever experienced, while looking out your window, any activity going on in the area?
A lot.
Could you describe it for the board?
It's been picking up since March, to tell you the truth. And there's people back there who, there's grocery carts, they're living back there, they have tarps, they've called the police a few times, just for health, wellness checks because it was raining and I felt bad. You shouldn't be there. But on the other hand, I'm just really concerned because it's such in close proximity. When I have a 7-story house and I can look right out of my bedroom and I can see this. I saw 2 people having an argument. I'm a psychiatric nurse by training, and I could tell one was agitated. So it's like, come on, what happens when we have 17 beds, there's an overflow, and then there's a magnet effect? How are people who are non-professionals going to take care of those issues?
What's your profession?
I'm an RN MSN. It was RN MSN, Masters in Nursing, psychiatric specialty.
Have you personally witnessed any individuals going up Washington Street past Magnolia?
Yes. And
you could describe to the board what they look like.
yesterday in particular, there were a mass of people coming around noontime. There was the Ocean County mobiles unit there. I don't know where these people came from. They were obviously not the local homeless people. They were making me this is the first time yesterday was the first time I was actually really scared because there was en masse, like 15 people, young people who didn't look like they were technically homeless, but probably were because they probably had it. I don't know. I'm just saying, it was scary yesterday.
Are you familiar with the term parish house?
The parish house, yes.
Is that where they're going to put this building?
Yes, yes.
Okay, and where were these people going?
I guess they were going to the parish house, but they also hang out in the back, on the back parking lot there where I live.
Do you know why they're going to the parish house daily?
I'm assuming for food.
Do you see them walking away with food?
Yes, I see them walking away with packages.
And as an individual living alone, what's your fears, if any?
Now it's becoming scary because I don't know who these other people are. Like, you know, sometimes when there's that magnet effect and there's drug addicts who are homeless, they're going to start checking out our homes. I'm concerned for just in general with the safety. The way the property is managed there is ridiculously poor. And how am I going to get assurance that this is not going to continue?
You showed me what's apparently photographs. Can you accurately define what this photograph is, please, for the board?
This was a man who was setting up shelter there. He's the one I had to call on because he was going to live under a tarp in the rain.
Can you describe what this photograph is?
This is another man who was sleeping on a tarp near the pavilion, that petite pavilion.
Well, describe what the pavilion you're talking about. Where is it located approximately to your house?
To my house, it's a little bit farther, but it's closer to our other neighbor's home, which I believe they could see.
What does this photograph depict?
This is the leftover grocery cart that I can see from my house.
And where was that located?
Next to.
Chris, do these need to be marked in ordinance?
Yes, are they going to be marked?
I'm going to have them marked for identification purposes. If New York can see them, then I'm going to move them to evidence as we would normally do.
Yeah.
If New York wants to see them, he doesn't care. He waved his hand.
That's fine. I would just like to mark it and tell me which one is which one. You know, so 009 is a picture of.
Okay. This one, the number. Oh.
Let me know when you're ready.
Okay. And then to have them circulated for the board members to see, please.
I want to publicly do this.
Yep.
We're not going to do make it more expedient. Have you mark them as a package. Easier for you. Then you just not.
Mr. Chairman, I asked if they be marked individually, if they're going to be identified, it can't be as marked as a package.
Well, I'm going to have them identified as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Okay.
Exhibit A for objective.
Well, no, it's something more. We're on exhibit 010. 09.
Sorry. I'm just going to have it marked in like objective A, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever it is.
We don't do objective A, that's the applicant, O is objector. We do it O.
Oh, it's fine.
09. We started 09.
I concede to your expertise.
I do it the way I do it. If you want to tell me, I can take it. It's usually the way I do it. Okay.
It's weird because then I just hit the consent.
I like the idea. I like the idea.
Respectfully, Mr. Dusty, you're no respect that. Yes, just use your first name. Everybody knows. Okay.
Now, you're my neighbor, do you mind if I call you Paul? Paul, let's identify these photographs for the board. Just identify the back.
I have no objection to the evidence. The witness testifies that these pictures were taken by you
Yes.
and represent the actual condition.
Yes.
And they're just photographs.
They're just photographs. I took them to my home. Now you feel it.
What is that accurately depict?
Okay, this one,
What number is it? Identify the back.
09. So this is the one that, this was not close to my home, this is closer to my neighbor's home. But this was near the Petite Pavilion where he was, the man was set out lying down on a tarp.
The next photograph, look at the back of it, please.
010. This is the leftover grocery cart after I called the police to have the man, whatever they do with welfare check. He left his grocery cart, however, he's back today with his grocery cart. This is him. Oh, sorry, forgot. 011. That's him getting set up on the picnic table because a lot of them sleep on the picnic benches. And my biggest concern is that they smoke cigarettes and the property maintenance is poor. And I'm always afraid the cigarette butts are going to set everything on fire. That is actually my biggest fear since my house is wood. 012. This is the one where the two men were having an argument. And I could tell because being a psychiatric nurse, I know when somebody's pacing and I can tell that there was issues. And some parish person did come out at that point and made the guy with a backpack go away. So
Describe the person in the photograph. How's he dressed?
Well, I can already tell you. I remember he had an orange-colored jacket on and then he had an orange backpack.
What was that?
Okay, this is 013, and this is a picture from my garage, and this is what it looks like with a retaining wall, an unpermitted retaining wall that's falling apart. And I've called the board. I put a complaint into the zoning board and to the building inspector for the unpermitted retaining wall.
This is the same photograph.
This is 0114. This is just this is all just the remnants behind it I have to look at. There's just. Okay, the reason 015, The reason I took this picture is because this is coming from my bedroom window. This is where the actual building would be placed. So that just shows you how close it is. So even in an elevation, I'll be looking even with a 6-foot fence, I'm still going to be able to see what's going on inside of that whole area. They don't take care of their area, and they can say what they want. They don't take care of their area. This is 016, and this is the unpermitted eyesore retaining wall.
What was that the
0118, this is all the trash, and this, I think this one had like sheets in it. We see a lot of sheets, lots of clothing things. Oddly enough, lately it's been, which is really with latex gloves. I don't know why, but I've been seeing a lot of latex gloves. This is 023, and that's more trash. All behind my house, within like distance, like walking, like again, it's 9 feet, so it's pretty close to see. And again, this is 021, and this is a closer picture of the poor man that was sleeping in the tarp, on that tarp. 022, this took me by surprise. All of a sudden, within the past 3 weeks, the Ocean County Mobile Service has been showing up, and when they show up, then I really have issues because they all hang out and they stay. And then they stay overnight.
Now, you were here when there was testimony about the Board of Social Services. Do you know what they're doing with that truck?
I don't.
You know if they're delivering food?
I don't. I don't. 026. Oh, this is when he was talking about somebody walking up and down the street with a
How's he dressed?
dark clothes, dark backpack. This one is 025, and this is how they congregate in front of our. This is how they congregate in front of Washington
Can you
Street.
describe how they're dressed?
Well, nothing that's.
For a reasonable fee, I'll let her use my magnifying glass, but I'll give it to the board for free. Does that help you identify the person yet? How they're dressed?
Oh, but I can't say, I have to admit, I can't say much because I always wear black. That's my uniform. 020, lots of trash. This has been over a club. Once this these zoning meetings started, I started being way more aware. And then then I started taking pictures.
For the record, I'm not going to be using 025, 018, and 017 pounds. I will move into evidence. She works in the
Can't hear you.
I said Mr. York has no objection. I'd like to move these into evidence as exhibits.
So,
Objector.
Mr. Ozeski, I want to make sure I heard you right. No 017, no 018, no 025?
Correct.
But I did not hear 024.
024, she identified it. 024, she identified as right there. For those that can't hear me, I'll speak up. She identified 024 about people congregating in front of the parish house where they attended the book, built this facility. And I'd like to publish these to the board members now that they're into evidence.
Please.
May I approach?
Yes, please.
Thank you. For the board's edification, this present neighbor, how they're living, and presently how they're treating their neighbors. Not even having the application approved yet.
Exactly. That's my main concern. If this is the behavior of the maintenance in front of my, in back of my home now and what's going on, I understand they would be housed, right? There'd be 17, but as we've been seeing with the library issues, there's that magnet effect that's starting to come up the street to Washington Street. So what happens when there's, when this gets approved, and then they have to turn people away? What happens? They just are congregating in the back, and it's literally, I would say, like everything that's been in testimony with the other appraiser and what have you, with the homes and whatever. But has anything been 9 feet from a homeless shelter? I mean, really, this is an R15 zone. There was the expectation when you move in behind a church, you're not going to be afraid.
Sir, I think we're missing,
019, we never got 019.
and I think we're missing 010 as well.
No, we're missing, we have 11, 13, 14, 15, 16, 18, 20, 21, 22, 23, and 26. Other pictures missing.
Well, 18 he said was not being admitted, and
17.
and 019 was never identified.
Okay, well, I have 18 here. I have, okay, and I don't have 10. I started at 11. I have 11. I have 10. Re-identify, just re-identify 10 for the board member.
Sure. 0110, that's the grocery cart that was left.
I thought you testified to that.
Okay, no,
I don't have them here. Let me get them. Which other one?
Mr. President, the only one that I did hear testify to was 019.
Anybody heard her testify?
But I did not hear her identify as
That's
019.
correct. 19 doesn't, right. I'm putting that over here. I did not testify for this one. I remember I didn't look at this.
Oh, you said.
Oh, let me approach the board member over here. You said number 10, correct?
Yeah, so it says it does that.
I started 11. Then it jumps from 11 to 13, 14, 15, 16, 23, 21, 20, 21, 23, 26. That's correct. I did elected not to be redundant with the photos, and I don't want to burn you. Right, no, I just want to make sure that what you read with the record is what I have here. So we're complete.
Mr. Bezdecki.
She did discuss these, she said 11. Yeah.
She has to pick everything on the record, so you can't like.
All right. Let me put it on record. You only testified all 11. Garbage bag, all 18.
Yes.
Oh, 12, she testified, and looks to me it has no clothes on it. But that's not what I said. And then 09, those are in.
But Mr. Bezdecki,
Yes.
please, 026 was never testified to, so can you please identify 026? And I just want to clarify, you said earlier 018 was not going in. 018 is now going in? I'm just trying to be clear.
25 is not going in. 017 and 019 are not going in.
And now can you please identify 026, because you did not.
I have that.
I know you have it, but I don't know.
She didn't identify?
She did not.
May I approach?
Yes. It's right there. So hard.
D26, Paula, what does that appear to be? Somebody in the photo?
Oh, no, I did testify with this one on 26. This is the man that was walking on Washington Street that was all in black.
Thank you.
I don't think
Lastly, Paula, there's a publication that you sent to me. You identify that publication.
All right. Oh, this one? This is the one that the Tom's River Bulletin, and this is what was sent to us, and that was described. This is the December 2024 edition, and this was what it was talking about: the town closing the homeless camps, and then we're putting them in hotels.
Without objection by Mr. York,
No,
can you see it?
no. I object. It's improper. you cannot introduce a newspaper into evidence.
Well, under 901 of the rules of evidence, if I'm standing in a courtroom, a newspaper article under the rule is self-authenticating. I don't need a witness to come in and authenticate this Tom's River bulletin. This paper will go into evidence.
One at a time, one at a time.
I don't have to authenticate under 901. I would normally have to have Paula identify something. But when it comes to a newspaper article, I can ask the court to take judicial notice of the authenticity under the rules of evidence, which I use every day. So it's authenticated by her anyway. But it's self-authenticating. It's talking about the mayor removing people from Winding River Park and putting them into homeless shelters. That's all it is. I'm sure the court even is aware of it.
Mr. York. A, he's wrong, but more important, it's irrelevant. What the mayor did in the newspaper has no relevance to this hearing.
Can I be heard?
Sure.
Briefly, very briefly.
Mr. Dasty.
Mr. Williams wanted to...
Mr. Stecky,
No, you have to talk this way.
I'm sorry.
address this
Address the board.
Yeah, no, I said, Mr. Williams, who I'm pointing to, I'm sorry, I turned around. He testified at one of the hearings as a witness for the community. He said something about the needs, and Mr. York jumped up and objected, said, it doesn't have anything to do with the needs. And Mr. Dasty, you said it's not relevant. But when it comes to the needs, it's a benefit, and the benefit is a need. That's what he was only talking about, and you shot him down. But it shows that, is there a benefit to the community by putting this in? The answer is no.
Okay. My turn. Mr. Dasty.
Mr. Chairman, I'm not even sure what newspaper that is, and but in any event, I don't know what relevance it has because it's a newspaper and it's an expert report. It's up to the board whether or not you would even consider it, but I don't know that we give it any weight. It's written by journalists. I don't know that there's no experts in the field as to whether or not there is or is not a need, so I don't understand the relevance.
This is the statute. The statute provides that's the burden of Mr. York, which he didn't complete the burden, he never met the burden, to show that it's a benefit to the community. And he never met that burden, and that's what's showing. There's no need here for homeless people when we already have the house. How many people do you think are in Tom's River that are homeless? Ms. Moore was asked that question. She couldn't even
I'm not 100% sure.
The issue is...
Can I finish?
No.
No? Okay. I'm going to go.
Enough. Mr. Dasty. Is it your legal opinion that the publication, whomever it is written by, is acceptable for testimony?
No, because you can't cross-examine a newspaper.
There we go. Please proceed.
Paul, I thank you for the testimony. You had something more to say.
I just wanted to say that, because I guess I can do it in public comments, but since I'm here, I guess I'm just trying to figure out how,
Mr. Chairman, she's a witness. Comments come at a different portion in the hearing.
I'm not asking for a public comment. What is your...
I was just trying to say that I still can't figure out the substantial detriment. To get this overturned, it has to be without substantial detriment to the public good, and I still haven't figured out how that's been proved, because there isn't anything to the public good. We have a robust residential community, and how is a 17-bed going to do anything when you have, I get that people need help. It's 17 beds, and you have to kind of consider the masses, you know?
That's something that you can bring up again at public.
Yeah, thank you very much, Paul.
Before you go any further.
One more.
Before you go any further.
Just one more question briefly. Not to all of it, but I have a witness.
You have a witness, but we have the right to
Yeah. Oh, you're in
question your witness.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'll step back.
Appreciate it. Board members, any questions of the witness?
Just a quick question. These are current conditions that unfortunately dealing with. Do you think the 17 beds will make it worse or stay?
I think it's going to make it worse. Because this is what happens, and you can read just regular national statistics, which I have, is that there becomes a magnet effect. So you might be housing 17, but then they know that that facility is available, and so just like the library and just like the soul food, people just become magnets, and that's what's going to end up happening in our backyard. Literally, in my backyard. And I don't care if you're gonna call me a NIMBY, I don't care if you're gonna call me a racist. I'm not. I'm a psych nurse. I'm empathetic to the cause. I'm a taxpayer. I love my house, and I don't think it's fair.
No, you're right. No, I'm just trying to
You
understand.
guys take to understand. I told you that the first time. It's literally to you. It's scary.
Ma'am, I appreciate for your, wait, ma'am.
Ma'am.
Oh, we're not done.
I'm being dramatic, but it's very upsetting.
Any of the board members?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. In the photograph, there was, well, you had, one photograph pertains to a retaining wall.
Yes.
It's a little bit, it's not the type that uses mortar. It's a little bit falling apart.
Kinda.
And also the landscaping seems to me, like there's a lot of leaves and stuff.
There's a ton of brush, there's dead trees,
Yeah, it's not
there is.
manicured.
Everybody, one at a time.
One doesn't seem to be manicured.
Correct.
Now, one thought that comes to my mind is if this facility was to go through, is it going to be maintained better, or is it going to continue being, kind of troubled?
I'll just let you know, I've been there 11 years, and in the 11 years, it's never been maintained. We have to maintain it. I had in 2023, when we had the storm, one of their trees fell onto my roof of my garage. I went to talk with them, and I just told them, I'll just pay for it, because it was just better, let's just do it. And then there was another tree with all the wind lately. There's another tree that was about ready to fall. I paid for that as well. And you can ask my other neighbors. We all take half the, whatever we slightly maintain, we maintain. And then one more thing is that when I did go to complain to the rectory, they told me that there's a separate property manager. I met him over the summer because there was graffiti on the back of the garage. He comes, he takes care of what I say, right? Then I never see him again. Or he tells me, call me when you see something else, if you have any other problems. When did I become the property manager? And then last week, to top it all up, and that's why I went to town to complain again, one of his helpers actually urinated in the front of my kitchen window against the garage. So come on. Is that going to get better? I doubt it. It's going to be the same people maintaining.
Any other board members? Ms. Hilla?
No questions.
Mr. Weiser?
Nothing, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Dasty?
No, sir.
Even though the witness is not giving expert testimony, is it proper to hear public questions?
Well, you need to ask Mr. York first.
Oh, Mr. York, I apologize.
No question.
So the question still stands, is it proper for public?
If any members of the public want to ask her a question.
Are there? Please step forward. Or actually, Mr. Williams, you're already standing.
I'll defer to Ms. Singer.
Lori Singer, Laurie, Singer, 113 Redwood. Thank you. Where are the photos? So the board has them up there? Are we allowed to look at them?
Yep.
Okay.
Want to ask them? Also,
Thank you. Thanks. Ma'am, when were these taken?
Just a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
Actually, I can tell you exactly when this one was, because it was on March 16th. This is, it started, was the beginning of Thursday, whatever that date was, 13, 14, 15, because 17 was St. Patrick's Day. So it started that weekend before. I was paying attention. On Thursday it started. He started getting all his goods together, and by Friday, or by Sunday, it started to rain, and I had to call the police.
ma'am, I'm just going to tell you, rather than say this one, just refer to which picture you're referring
Oh, right. That picture was 011. Oh, that's good. That's the point.
So you took these pictures from your backyard?
And my bedroom window.
Okay, and your bedroom window. Have you come onto the property?
Have I come onto your property? I mean,
Which property?
Have you come onto the parish house, the Crest Episcopal property?
yes,
Um,
because it's right there. Yeah.
you've been onto the property. Have you been to the parish house?
No.
Have you talked to any of these folks that you took pictures of?
I talked to, no, not this group, but I did go to the rectory 415.
You went to 415.
Yes, I didn't, because I didn't know there were two separate entities. So that's when the lady at the rectory called, I guess, you guys to deal with the project manager.
Okay. 405 is the parish house, just to clarify. It does share the same property as 415. So, my question to you is, have you been to the parish house?
No.
Mr. Chairman, for the record, I pulled the deeds. 1962, Church Christ had a deed from First National Bank to them. 1988, Attorney York did a deed to consolidate all the lots. So it's very confusing. 415 and 405 are they're not the same. There's only one number, 415. They put 405 on the mailbox, but the lots are all one.
When this has been occurring, I didn't realize that 405 even was, I thought it was all under the church.
Are we doing questions for the public?
Let's let Mrs. Singer answer a question.
Just answer my question.
Yeah.
So you have not been to the parish house?
Correct.
So you don't know what goes on inside of there?
I just see people coming in, coming out with food.
You see them going and coming out with food. So the van that you saw that said Ocean County, you don't know what that van is?
Yeah, I know, it's the mobile the mobile service for the homeless. Can I say what exactly takes place in there? No, but do I know what happens after you guys leave at 5 o'clock? Yes.
Okay. Just to clarify, so you're making assumptions. You've never been into that space. You don't know what goes on in there. Just to clarify, you've never been in there. You've never talked to me. You've never. Excuse me, folks. Thank you. Excuse me. Talking to her.
I don't know, Mr. Chairman, did she identify herself? I didn't hear.
I did.
Yes. Lori Singer.
My name is Lori Singer.
What property?
I live at 113 Garfield. I'm about 3 miles from the property. I happen to work there too.
Oh, you work there?
Yes.
I apologize, I didn't hear you.
Okay, no problem. Now that we've clarified that. So you've never been in there, you've never talked to the folks that you're taking pictures of, you don't know exactly what goes on in there.
She was asked that and she answered it.
I said no because I thought it belonged to 415. I didn't even realize you guys were separated.
That's not what I asked you.
No, then I have not been over there.
Okay. Would that be something that you would explore, coming over and seeing what happens and sit there and, you know?
Yes, I am, because I understand the question is, I understand what you're asking me, yes, but my concern is when you leave, what happens?
Okay. Well, if the zoning board approves it making it overnight shelter, there would be staff past 5 o'clock. There'd be staff there overnight, all night long. So all of those situations would be supervised.
Mr. Chairman, she's testifying as a witness.
Hold on one second. Mr. Dasty, am I able to ask a question of Ms. Singer?
Sure.
Are you affiliated with the church, the property in question?
Indirectly, yes, sir. Yes.
Would you believe that the pictures that are represented tonight are an accurate representation of the property?
In my opinion, no, sir. You don't have to agree with me, that's my opinion.
Okay, in my opinion, you're not looking at after you're gone.
Mrs. Singer, do you have any other questions?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Williams.
Paul Williams, Broad Street Company. Good evening, Ms. Leon. So, you identified a bunch of pictures. And to some degree, the question was asked, but I want to make sure that we're clear about it. Can you give us a time range when these particular pictures were taken by?
Okay, okay, in regards to the people on the property, these started around March 14th.
Of this year?
Of this year. The retaining wall, that has been an issue that I complained to 415 back in the summer, and nothing happened.
Now, just for transparency purposes, do we communicate with each other?
Yes,
About how long have we had any contact, communication with each other?
probably since around Christmas time,
And-
maybe a little bit before.
Okay. So, and typically, what is the substance of those conversations?
Discussing what were, like the variance and the idea that it should not, that it's a D variance and it's in an R150 zone and it's, there has criteria that need to be met in order to put a homeless shelter, which it would set a first precedent, so first impression.
Did you attend any public meetings that I may have put together?
Yes,
Did I put meetings together?
yes,
More than one?
yeah, two.
Yes. And as best as you can you describe what the sum and substance of the presentations were?
The focusing on how there's criteria that need to be met in order for this variance to go through, and that we should really think hard about how it becomes, like, there's that inherent good, but that's the positive. The negative is how it affects the substantial detriment to the public good, and then the third was how the building was supposed to maintain the building.
Approximately how many people attended, let's say, the second meeting we had?
Oh, I think there's at least 30 in there.
And during that meeting, do you recall whether or not I put on a PowerPoint presentation?
Correct, showing our zones.
Yes, and exactly. It showed the zones. Now, when you say it showed the zones, can you explain what that was?
The different zones of Tom's River, and that how our zone was an R150 zone, and that it was a residential zone, and it's a non-conformant building.
And I also provided, and correct me if I'm wrong, did I provide yourself and the other attendees of those meetings with a copy of the statutory law that defines inherently beneficial use?
Yes, and I have them here.
Did I also provide you and the other attendees of that meeting the statute that defines the purpose of the New Jersey land use?
Yes.
Was this meeting useful to you?
No, you mean this whole zoning meetings?
No, the presentation that
Mr. Williamson, I hate to cut you off. I don't hear any questions regarding her testimony. I only hear you reciting all the things that you've done. So
what I'll do, I'll move along to the point then.
respectfully, that's it. You have a seat, absolutely.
Mr. Williams, it is outside the scope of her direct.
So I'll get to the point then. You expressed, to some degree, emotional reaction to having to address this earlier this evening, correct?
I always do. Every meeting, I'm always upset. Yes.
And would you agree that part of the reason why you attended some of the meetings that I had put together was because you were frustrated with the nuances of what this application
I wanted to learn more about what this meant because I didn't understand, because this is all brand new to me, and I needed more understanding of what a D variance was and how to explain it, because it's never been explained in any of these meetings. It's always about inherent good for the 17 people, and it's never talks about the public. It has to also involve us as a public and how it has to be substantially good for us and also the detriment to us.
And so ultimately the point that I was trying to get to was that you, and to the best of your knowledge, your neighbors have been communicating with each other, concerned about this matter.
Absolutely.
And you indicated that you've taken these pictures, we'll say in the last month, January?
Like I said, starting in March, and I'm thinking about this, I don't know, it was either after that Ocean County mobile service started, but it's actually increased since March.
And so you are concerned about this matter to the point to where, so much to the degree that you would describe it, that you're concerned.
I can,
As best as you can.
well, I think I have explained it. I'm concerned for the safety. I'm concerned for resourcing. I'm concerned for property values. I don't see any, and again, it comes down to without a substantial detriment to public good.
Now, you weren't taking pictures months and months ago of the people who happened to be coming into that vicinity, correct?
No. This started triggering me that, oh my gosh, there's way more going on back here.
And you needed, and correct me if I'm wrong, you started taking these pictures so that you could document, so that it was your evidence.
Correct.
Aside from taking these pictures though, did you see a lot more?
Yes, there's been more and more people, and my evidence as of yesterday was that there's like at least 15 people that just swarmed up around lunchtime. I don't know where they came from. They were all young. I just said it earlier. It was very frightening because they were all just kind of loitering and hanging around on Washington Street. It's very quick, and then they were coming onto the back of the parking lot. Yeah, it was a lot of people. I actually went and locked my door. I don't lock my back door.
So when you were asked by Ms. Singer a little while ago, what's depicted in these pictures is not the sum total of what you are concerned about, correct?
Correct.
It's a lot more than just this,
Correct.
Thank you.
These are just fun, yes.
Any other members of the public with a question of this witness? Sir, please step forward. Or,
Meg Outreach, 2258, South Chanticleer Court, Township.
And who was on?
OTCH1. In your testimony, you mentioned that you always wear black. Is that correct?
I'd say yes.
And you saw some people, what were they wearing?
I said to Ed, I can't really comment on that because I wear black all the time, so I can't, I didn't want to, there's no comment.
Trying to scare me
one
with
at a
this
time.
black
One at a time. One at a
outfit?
time.
Are you trying to scare me?
I said, I'm not trying to, yeah. No, what I said was, Ed mentioned about people wearing black clothes. And I said, I can't make a comment because I wear black all the time, so I can't comment.
So if there was a shelter there, wouldn't it be better if the people who had to hide, shelter under tarps, would it be better if they were inside?
Of course. But
It would be a better, and you wouldn't have to see them because they'd be inside.
no, because I was thinking, well, number one, they're 9 feet from my house. Would you like to be 9 feet from us?
Well, are they 9 feet from your house or from your garage? I thought you said it was a garage.
It's property line. It's 9 feet. It's a property line. We've been talking about property line.
One at a time. One at a time. And please let me address the gentleman in the back.
60 feet.
Please no more outbursts.
60 feet.
Stop. Sure, stop.
One at a time. You may not like the witness's answer, and you may not like the question. She has the right to ask, you have the right to answer.
So your house, you said, is 60 feet actually from the property line.
The home is, yes. That I can see it, everything from my bedroom window.
Okay, all right, but, I can see a lot of things from my bedroom.
Do you want to see people living in tarps? People with grocery carts? People having arguments? Well, neither do I.
No, and we would like them to be in a homeless shelter.
I understand that, but think about this for 1 second. There's a magnet effect. Once there's 17 beds in there, and you don't think, oh, right now there's people coming here because they know it's available? It's statistics. Statistics say that it's a magnet effect.
And people would come and these places.
This is not a debate.
And they would be.
Please ask questions.
Yeah, ask me a question.
Questions. We should move on to the next person.
Next person.
Whoever's next.
Mark B. Mossop Jr., homeless, 2 years.
Sir, can you spell your last name?
Mossop.
Thank you. That's one better.
So my first question is about these pictures. You said you had people living a couple feet from your house, correct? Do you think that if there was a homeless shelter, do you think that they would be living in the woods by your house like this?
I think we've already, that question's been asked already, and I just answered it. The fact is, I understand, it's a 17-bed shelter. However, there's a magnet effect. This is a place where they can all, because they know it's a safe environment, they can start living back there.
Okay. Right. So I've heard it's been asked about the 405 Washington. You said you saw a bunch of people. They've asked you, do you know what goes on there? You said no, correct?
I said, I just know that they come out with food.
Social services and stuff has been coming there to help us. I go there myself. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have help. This homeless shelter, no offense, I'm not trying to make comments, would be helpful. I wouldn't have to sleep in the car or.
Do you understand this is about
time?
Do you understand this is about a zoning issue? This is regarding a zoning issue.
Okay.
We're here for a zoning issue.
Everybody, it's not a debate, okay? Sir, all you're gonna do is ask questions and no statements, and ma'am, you're gonna answer if you can. It's not a debate, okay? So, sir, do you have a question? Okay.
Thank you.
Sorry, something.
Sorry.
Sabina D'Souza, D-E-S-O-U-S-A. D'Souza, D-E-S-O-U-S-A. So I have a question. What did you take your pictures with?
Have to get closer.
Sorry, what did you take your pictures with?
My phone?
So they'd be available on your phone?
They are.
So there'd be dates, because these aren't dated. So I have a question in terms of, I mean, you can take pictures and see lots of people in garbage all throughout Township River, and every single aspect of our communities. Are these time stamped with your location and the date and time that you took them for verification by board? If you took it on your phone, it should have it.
You can answer the questions.
I don't know.
If you took it with a camera, you can take it with the camera, is that what
I said it to my phone.
Next question is, you talked about noticing people outside, garbage, and people wandering around. I have a question, did you notice when churchgoers came on Sunday mornings?
The interesting part about that is, yes, and in fact, the one where they left that man sleeping there that night. So yeah, that was on a Sunday, and everybody, whoever was all on that property, up until whatever time, they left, and that man was still sleeping there, and I called the police, and that's time stamped, because it was gonna rain, and I did a welfare check for him. And that was on Sunday, March 16th.
That's great, but my question is more, you take the time to notice the homeless people and photograph them, because they're so.
I see, if you're asking me if I see, yes, I do see that.
There's lots of uses for that church. There's lots of events that go on and people that come in, including young people. Young people also graffiti. So I think it's just to look at somebody from afar.
What's your question?
My question
What's
is,
your question?
if you didn't notice your churchgoers and pay attention and take pictures of them when they were by your house, then why are you doing it for these people? What makes them different?
Because they're sleeping there all night. What are you talking about? It's like, I don't see that, I don't know who's putting the trash bags, but there's people sleeping in our property. There's people on your property smoking cigarettes, and it was very dry this summer. I did not
Basically, folks that smoke cigarettes.
But now when you're gonna put them out, I am concerned
Folks,
if,
again, this is a debate. If you have questions about the witness's direct testimony.
Yes, my last question is on the magnet. My question to that, when we talk about the magnet effect, do you take into account that when a shelter is full, there's notice? Not just to the local community, but the homeless community. So they'll reach out to other supporters and coalitions and stuff like that in order to direct people to that
okay,
location.
so this is also, okay, are you done?
Well, I wasn't, but
Okay, go
I
ahead.
guess I can be going.
Well, no, but I'm saying to you, the direct testimony from Randy Morris that if there's an overflow, then you guys would call 211, and if there's a problem, there's going to be 911. So there would be a direct overflow. She mentioned that, and that you would have to call 211.
But that's what I just said, that one of the responsibilities is if we run out of room in a place, not my place, but if you run out of room in a place that you're housing people, and more people start coming, clearly you want them in a home. You don't want them sleeping on your property. So you're going to reach out to other locations such as 211, because that's their job, and be able to find a place for these people.
Mr. Chairman, is this person testifying as affiliated with these folks?
No, I'm not affiliated.
Well, she said you used the term
Very
we.
unproductive.
It's not productive at all.
No, you're right, it's not.
Thank you.
We have to get back on track. Is there a question about direct testimony? Okay. To the remaining members of the public that want to ask this witness a question, this is not a time for debate or contrast in opinion. If you have a question about that testimony, let's ask it. If not, the longer we drag out, the harder it is to get to public comment.
Yeah, I
The
see.
board is interested in hearing from everyone in this room, but debating a witness about pictures and their opinion on a matter is not helpful.
Thank you.
Do you have a question?
Yes.
You were allowed to ask questions of the witnesses.
I gotcha.
My name is Samantha Kidd, Kidd. I am part of the homeless. My question to you is,
Microphone. Speak into the microphone.
have you ever approached any of these people and had a conversation with them?
Yes.
At all?
Yes, I have.
Okay, now, was the conversation positive?
I felt really bad for him because he had nowhere to go and it was on a weekend and he asked me to go to McDonald's.
Okay.
And I felt really bad. I mean, so I have. And to be honest with you, I'm a psychiatric nurse. I've worked in these facilities before. I understand, I'm empathetic. The problem is that this is a zoning community. This is a zoning. It's not in a proper zone. I get it. But I am empathetic to the cause. I mean, I'm here, I am. I
I
am.
get it. I understand the zoning. I understand the concerns. I understand, the property value. I understand all of that. But what it's down to is, we all have the right to have good quality.
Can you ask me a question?
I'm just letting you know. But my personal.
Folks, this is what I'm trying to
I just want to ask you,
It's unproductive.
a conversation by you. Because we're not all bad.
I never said anyone was bad.
Please. Anyone else with a question? Okay. Mr. Gosdecki.
Apologize for having some time. I got a bad hearing because I fired an M14 too many times in Richmond. I have one last witness. I don't want to take this any longer. Very briefly. Very briefly.
Very briefly.
Yeah, I will.
Friendly reminder to the board to stop hearing testimony tonight at 10 o'clock.
Oh, no, we're not going
No,
to. Lawyers always say, oh, it'll only take you 3 minutes. Next thing you know, you're building an 8-day
lawyers
clock.
never accurate.
I'm one of them. Chief, please identify yourself.
Yes, my name is Diane Ryan. I live at 6 Magnolia Lane, which is, you got it. Oh, there we go.
Swear affirm the testimony you give before this board will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
How close to this?
R-H-I-N-E.
Do you have grandchildren?
Okay, can we just,
Fast forward?
fast forward?
Absolutely.
And
I will. I'll let the
and
witness
very
testify.
quickly, I live 3 houses down, next door to Paula from Washington Street. I've lived there for since 1987, over 35 years. And of course, the church and the parish house is within. I can see it from all my windows. I just want to note that at an earlier statement, at an earlier meeting, a statement was made by the Affordable Housing Alliance that there really hadn't been any complaints about anything that had been going on since they began their operation in July of 2023. I have to say that going back 7 months ago when this whole extravaganza and these wonderful meetings started happening, it wasn't really until then when we started to see that there was an uptick in things. I noticed people were coming by, but I really didn't know what the Affordable Housing Organization was actually doing. Then I started to notice recently that there was quite an uptick in the number of people that were there.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
This is supposed to be a witness, supposed to ask questions, give answers.
Okay.
What is happening is she got up with her statement and started reading.
You're right.
I'll ask the questions. I just wanted to expedite it at the direction of the chairman. Do you have grandchildren?
And I have grandchildren that play in my backyard on a regular basis.
Are you concerned about the quality of life?
I'm concerned about allowing them without real good supervision to go up into the church property if they have a soccer ball to chase.
Are you aware of families bringing their children to the bus stop?
And also, my grandchildren, when they stay with me, they walk down Magnolia and they walk from Magnolia up to Washington Street School at the same time, 8 o'clock in the morning when if there was a homeless shelter there, same time that those people would also have to leave the shelter.
All right. And the bus stop at Magnolia in Washington, approximately how many feet, if you can guess, from there to the church where you want to put the building? 100 feet?
Well, yeah, it's directly behind your house. So, it's 100 feet from the bus stop to the actual parish house.
Do you feel if the board grants this application, that's going to affect your quality of life?
I'm very concerned about the quality of our life, having lived there for so many years.
Did you rely on the R150 zone as being an area that you're going to be comfortable with that?
I'm in the real estate business, and I understand that that zoning, that there's such a thing as variances, but I also understand that it's important to have the correct documentation and proof before it's granted.
So where you live in the R150 zone, the church is also in a zone where they just can't live. They know they put people inside there, correct?
Well, I gather that the R150 zone, that the church is actually considered a non-conforming, some kind of a non-conforming use within the zone, and the shelter would clearly be a non-conforming use within a 150 residential zone.
How close is the Township River Country Club to this specifically? Where do you want to build?
The Township River Country Club is adjacent to the 10-acre site, which is the Episcopal Church, of which the parish house, of course, is an auxiliary building.
Are you familiar whether or not children accompanied go swimming, tennis, golf at the country clubs?
My children, and now my grandchildren, and many other children, not only in the Toms River area, but from residential areas all over the county, can become members of the Toms River Country Club, and they can swim and they can congregate. At the same time, the Toms River Country Club and those resources are used by all of the schools for tennis, golf, and swimming for their activities.
So now, you feel comfortable with children unaccompanied going to the bus stop without parents?
I didn't used to, well, it depends on the age of your children, so the intermediate school children that are, over the age of 12, now I'm starting to think that maybe they should be chaperoned as well.
Does it concern you if this is passed by the board that that's going to impact that quality of life?
Well, I think that that's, pretty much what's, what happens when you have some kind of a totally different non-conforming use, such as a shelter.
So now when you relied on the Township of Toms River putting the R150 zone into the master plan, you would like, to your benefit, to remain in that zone, correct?
I've been there for 35 years. I do know that as a, as a real estate broker, these things can change, but residential zones as large and as well established as downtown Toms River, it's unlikely, or I believed it was unlikely, that there would be anything that would begin to really moderate and change that.
I have no other questions of this witness. As I said, I wouldn't be very lengthy.
Board members, any questions? Board professionals?
No, sir.
Members of the public? Seeing none.
I left the motion.
Oh, Mr. York comes on. All right. Is that,
Yeah, you got to follow us to the board's stenographer.
Sure.
Nice.
No, I get them.
I'll listen, I'm sorry, for the record.
Mr. Bezdek, is that, conclude your presentation?
Yeah, look.
Yeah, yes it is, Mr. Chairman, yes it is.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
But with that, with the remaining 25 minutes, we can go to public comment.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I
Go get him.
hear Mr. Gazarovski said he's concluded his case.
Let's
That's
double
correct.
check.
That is correct.
You didn't hear, or you?
Wait a
No, just for the record, have you concluded your case? That's all I wanted to clear.
Okay. So we're going to go into the audience for public comments with the next 25 minutes. Clearly, not everyone will be able to speak tonight, but everyone will have the chance to speak. The board has agreed on setting a 5-minute time limit rule for each speaker. We're giving more time than the council would, with the assumption that, well, with the understanding that you'll only be able to speak one time. So give you plenty of time to speak and be heard by the board. What we will ask is that the public refrain from stomping, clapping, hooting, hollering, and all that stuff that sort of drags on. Everybody has the right to be heard here. You will be heard. If not tonight, then the next meeting. We just ask that you be respectful to each and every speaker, whether you agree or disagree. If you choose not to comply with those rules, we will ask you to leave. So, please step forward, state your name. Melissa will start the clock.
Yeah, I have the clock, so when it buzzes, that's the end of the time.
And it's respectfully to all speakers, it is a hard stop. 5 minutes.
Steve Priola, 26 Brooks Road. I thank you for giving me the privilege.
Sorry, I
Swearing in.
I'm not a witness.
swear for the testimony you give before this board, but you give the whole truth.
I do. A lot of it's opinion. So Steve Priola, Brooks Road. I thank you for the privilege of us coming up here and explaining to you what this is going to do to the community. I thank Lawyer Bezecki. We were in the last couple of meetings because you really knew, how to give a rebuttal and how to talk to, the legal terms of everything. Unfortunately, one of my friends is a mayor, and he states that sometimes board members have an opinion no matter what is said during this testimony. And I feel the majority of what is said here will not change the opinion of several of the board members, which I feel already made an opinion. If I explain to you about the evaluation by New York City, stating that there's a decrease in the property value by 7%. If I explain to you my research that 30 to 50% of homelessness either have drug, alcohol dependence, or psychiatric problems. If I tell you putting homeless women to sleep in a room by a half wall and a curtain, it's not safe for them. I feel it might not change their minds. House robberies also go up. Look at the poor lady here. You're talking about a detrimental community. This lady's going out in tears. And I live probably 2 to 3 blocks. I could show you the pictures. My wife wants you to show you, but it's all a waste of time. It's spilling out 3, 4, 5 blocks down from where this place is. And that's been going on in the past year. Who I'm talking to is the 4th or 5th member here that makes a supermajority for this rule. The facts are detrimental, easily, for this variance to be approved. I implore you to understand, in this area, there are 3 schools in walking distance. Children jog and walk past this area constantly, as you stated from the Township Yacht Club. Let it be on your conscience, something should happen to them. It really doesn't make sense where Township spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to knock down the red roof end, where you all knew it was a problem in this town. And now you want to attract, like she said, and it's totally true, because I'm in the profession like her, it will be a magnet. And we all know, and everybody in this room knows, that we need homeless shelters, but not in a zone that's zoned residential. It will definitely have a detriment to the community and not just the houses next to where this place is being proposed to be built. There are plenty of developers that I know personally that can find an easy spot for this to be the place, that you're not going to go through all this trouble with trying to change a variance. As for Harvey York, you're a well-versed lawyer. But in reality, any evaluations of the fact will definitely reveal that the good does not surpass the significant detriment to this community. When this gets appealed on either side, if you appeal, please know it will be much easier to put it somewhere else. Put your energy to start a foundation. Raise money from this community, and it can be easily placed somewhere else without ruining this community. Thank you for your time and patience.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker, please.
Wait, hold, can you hold on 1 second? This clock, it's not working.
Oh, there you go.
All right, sorry. All right, here you go. Wait.
You're done, Walter.
Listen, obviously,
You're done.
Just turn
Story of my life here.
Mr. Chairman, in the interest of time, just turn it off, and I'll use my.
Not yet, but just use the stop.
I don't know what's wrong with it.
It's
It's me, I showed up.
obviously mechanical failure, not ours.
Low bid, Melissa.
All right, Mr. Williams, please.
Low bid.
Swear from testimony to the truth, for the truth, the whole truth.
Yes, I do. Good evening, board members. So, as much as I hate to do it, sometimes, I have to reiterate some things that several of you already know or may have already heard me say. I am a formerly incarcerated person. I've served a total of 17 years in New Jersey state prisons. I served 10 years, 6 months. I served 6 years, 6 months. By the time I was 21, I had 3 armed robberies. But before that, I was 16 years old, and I was homeless. I've never had much for family. I had 0 support system. My criminal behavior, I've always directly attributed to my being destitute and being homeless. And short of finding some other way, the path of least resistance for me was crime. And I just had my 55th birthday. Things have changed significantly since then. But the last time I was incarcerated in prison and released was in October of 2011. I was determined that I was not going to continue to perpetuate some of the behaviors, and that I was going to stay patient and focused, to the extent that for my first week out, I slept on some of the benches here in downtown. I couch surfed for a couple of nights. Until I got some assistance from social services. They wanted proof that I was incarcerated and that I'd just been released. Although, at the time, it was right there on the Department of Corrections website. But they wanted me, who was literally left prison with $0, a pair of shorts, socks, boxers, a t-shirt, and sneakers. They wanted me to go find proof that they would accept other than the website that I was incarcerated. Notwithstanding that hurdle that was presented to me by the Board of Social Services, I slept on on benches and couches for a couple nights. And then finally they set me up in what we know affectionately as a welfare motel. And I've had some bumps and bruises since then, but I have not looked back on a life of crime. And I say all that to say this. I know all too well what it is like to be homeless, to be destitute, and to make really bad decisions on account of that. But while I was incarcerated, by necessity, I learned about the law, I learned about our Constitution, to the point where attorneys have hired me to work for them, to do legal research on complex cases. And I say that to say, when it comes to law, I have a degree of ability to read and understand and even educate some people about the law. Zoning was way off of my radar until last year, when I saw some things that were done that gave me pause to be concerned. And then this issue came up, this application. And some of you may get the gist that I am adamantly opposed to this application. Because I see bigger than just this one issue. I see bigger than just this application. I see the potential impact on this entire town's zoning ordinances if this application is granted, when the applicant's attorney has presented to you that this is what Christians do, this is why it should be granted. Because if this application gets granted for 17 beds, I am concerned about what happens when the next applicant with deep pockets comes here and asks you for a similar variance for something that may or may not be very similar. And they may not be Christians. I am concerned that this is going to open a floodgate that cannot be closed. And so I'm not a neighbor directly affected by this application. My apartment is on Broad Street. But on behalf of my neighbors, the people in this community that I associate with and I see, and the people of all of Toms River, I am concerned. And I hear that, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
And give me the address.
David Winfrod, 1484 Silverton Road, Township.
Swear affirm the testimony you give before this board will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Thank you. Thank you for the time. I am I'm representing Cranmore Country Club, which is the owner of the property on which the Township Country Club sits. They are our sole tenant. That's our sole mission in life, the way it was established, not in life, but in certainly in this regard. And we have 272 stockholders presently. They bought shares, they participate in the ownership. The country club has approximately 300 members, broken down, mostly families. I'd like to tell you that it's the most active thing in keeping families together. We talk often about how fortunate we are to have this country club here to provide for our families. We have, in my family, 3 generations of members who actively participate. We have, we've been members for 54 years since we sat in Joe Sitta's office putting together enough money to buy it from SEBA. Yeah, see it. The club itself is extremely active. People are, the golf is active. The tennis has been reconstituted to have, I think, 50 or 60 members that actively participate. And the joy of watching the children swim, the swim team has approximately 100 members every year, every season. They participate, compete against other clubs around. The age starts for the swim team at 5 and goes up to 16 or 17. I'm sure the 16 or 17-year-olds can take care of themselves, but I feel concerned that the young people, 5 to 9, as they run back and forth to the snack bar and spend the days there. If something were to happen, and I'm not predicting it, and I'm certainly not hoping for it, but the first time police have to be contacted about an incident or to remove an individual or something, I feel that the families of the younger children will shut down. They'll find a safer place to stay. We will lose our credibility as a safe place for families. And it'll mark the end of the Township Country Club after many, many years. So I hope you will consider all those things when you're coming to your conclusion. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker, please.
Good evening. My name is Gemma McCarrick Brennan. Brennan, yes, Brennan is in a B, B-R-E-N-N-A-N. My home address is 1 La Rochelle Drive in Manchester, New Jersey. Yes.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony give your quote word will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. Thank you. I know it's important for you to have our backgrounds, and I've been here since 1971. We made a conscientious choice to move here to raise our children. And for our family to move forward, I was a waitress at the Township River Diner for a lot of years. My husband worked for the phone company. I was given opportunities. I continued college, got my doctorate, teacher at Toms River, a principal for Toms River Schools. I taught at Georgian Court for 21 years. So I took those skills to do what I do now. And currently, I am the president for St. Vincent de Paul and St. Luke's Church. We have 110 members. We were able to feed 9,167 people last year. We were clothed 5,000 people last year. We have furniture. We have a garden. We had a toy drive for 300 children. We're only one of 11 St. Vincent de Paul's in Ocean County. We're the biggest one, but all that we're all doing is just not enough. And we have to think about how we're going to move forward. Now, these meetings have been extremely important. We've been able to hear both sides, all the challenges that will come if we do have a shelter. Anywhere, there'll be a challenge, and that we respect. But there's a however. There comes a time when we have to decide what our humanity actually is. There has to come a time where there has to be a beginning. I do personally believe that this church will be our beginning. I think everything that was said tonight was extremely important. You have to know the challenges so that you can move forward. I think that by listening to each other, we're going to be able to do that. When some of the people here have said, well, what about next to you? They're right. I have a beautiful home. I have 3 bedrooms and I have 3 bathrooms. I've had several women who are homeless live with me intermittently at times. I was never concerned. They worked. I sat next to them. One woman with a little boy, homeless. We called 17 places. trying to find an apartment. The woman actually said, I'm homeless and I have a son. They said we had to wait 3 years, 4 years. I took a woman out to dinner who was homeless. And I listened to her for 3 hours. We were in a local restaurant. We go to dinner. She worked full time. She was living in a hotel. She had a car that barely could work. When we ordered dinner, she divided her dinner into 4 dinners. So she'd have enough food for the next 3 days. But I don't have to do that. It just has to be a beginning. Now, I'm not saying this for the drama's sake, but 3 weeks ago I had brain surgery. And I agree that I have every advantage. One of my sons is even a physician. And when I had a glitch, because of a doctor's appointment that wouldn't be stated, and then if I didn't have that doctor's appointment, I couldn't have the surgery. He took care of it. Within 5 hours, I was with the doctors that I was told I couldn't get into. But then we get a call from a mom who said her daughter had to be removed from an abusive situation. And her daughter had to live in not a very good hotel with her 3 children. And those 3 children had a mom who had a brain tumor and no insurance. I'm 75. They lost their mom because we're just not doing enough. That wasn't just that I got the opportunity, it was unjust that she didn't. This is what I would just like to think about sometimes. You know, we don't know where life's accountability really comes. And when we're done with this life, I don't know who I have to be accountable to. Right now I have to be accountable to my family, and I have to be accountable to my neighbor. We just have to figure this out together. And if we're being given an opportunity to take 17 people, many who do work, they just can't afford to live someplace else. They're not going to escape at night.
Ma'am, that's your time.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Gonzalez, we can fit you in.
Good. Might make this the next story.
5 minutes is starting now.
John Gonzalez, 406 Washington Street. I live across the street from the operation.
Swear affirm the testimony you give before this board will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes, I do. Learned during...
Closer to the microphone, please.
Learned during the 123 meeting that the granted AHH Parish House outreach activity may have been erroneous approval. It may not conform with the legal definition permitting its existence. Approval of this application would be piggyback another non-conforming occupancy having more than the legal 15 shelter limits at this location. I am against approval of variance in the parking lot capacity. Permitting the alternate reduction of required parking spaces may lead to future striking of the parking lot, increasing potential for future variance applications. The application has the potential for creating a significant negative, irreversible impact upon other township neighborhoods as well as this one. My specific concerns for safety and security and detrimental impact. Stated lack of applicants' involvement oversight. Effectiveness of resident screening. Staff oversight and supervision. Controls in place to address supply and excess demand. Increasing the vagrant population in the neighborhood. Increasing potential for confrontations. Potential increase in undesirable criminal activities in the neighborhood. This project is a Trojan horse. Approval will establish the precedent upon which future variance approvals for this type of occupancy are based. The testimony of Ms. Moore as justification for the project was a disproportionately large number of homeless people in Toms River. Accessibility and concentration of services provided by government, religious organizations, and others in why this is occurring. The greater the availability of services, the larger population attracted to take care of them. Township experienced an increase in impaired vagrant population with the presence of the shelter, the magnet effect. Successfully processing people through a facility in the desired time frame produces incentive to expand the initiative, doing nothing to reduce the vagrant population. The availability of government funding is why EHG/AHA is involved in this project. They benefit financially. Use of this location further enhances their benefit. The information Mr. Murphy provided during his testimony as to the size of the Christ Episcopal Church congregation further supports my belief that the use of the church's campuses for the project promotes the church's financial well-being. EHG and competitors did not bid a county contract. AHA did not accept a contract/work order or partner with EHG, or did the governing board or warden of Christ Church agree to this occupancy to financially suffer for the greater good of humanity. A 24-hour, 7-day-a-week, 365-day-a-year social services outreach shelter is not compatible with a residential neighborhood. Homeless shelters have a negative impact on the area where they're located. The goal, therefore, has to be minimizing their negative impact. Homeless housing initiatives belong in an appropriate government complex, an appropriate commercial setting, or an industrial park. Neither the proposed economic victim occupancy nor a facility capable of treating the observed impaired vagrant population belongs in the neighborhood. When the detrimental effects from the facility's existence result in an increase in the homeless population, increased vagrancy, vandalism, property value reduction, tax increases resulting from reduced property values, reduced sense of safety and security in either Tom's River or another neighborhood, they will be chalked up to unavoidable collateral damage, an unfortunate consequence of another otherwise successful initiative. The applicant, proponents, and proxies are insulated from the negative potential impact of this facility. With one known exception, they don't live in the neighborhood. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. So with that, let's talk scheduling. I understand April 24th is not a good date for Mr. York. Folks, before you leave, stay, because we're going to announce the next meeting time. There's going to be no other notice given, so it's in your best interest to hear the future date of the meeting. Ms. Benedetto. May 8th.
That's fine.
I have a problem with that.
Okay?
Okay, someone else from your firm cover?
No, not on this.
Ms. Benedetto.
Yeah,
The next day after May 8th.
right before Memorial Day.
May 22nd?
May 22nd. May 22nd.
You good? Good. So for the interested parties in the audience, the next meeting date will be May 22nd at 6:30. No other notice will be given to, for the meeting. So public comment will resume at that point.
Just for public comment, or is it going to be more testimony?
No, it's public comment.
Thank you.
Public comment, closing arguments, and possibly a vote.
Yes. Mr. York, your waive time limitation?
Yes.
Board members, is there a motion to adjourn? All in favor? Aye.
Right.